What is up, loyal lads and ladies? My name is Midnight Wolf, and welcome to another episode of the Wolf on the Field show. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at my spreadsheet, and we're going to rank the Week 0 teams. So, just a heads up, just so you guys know, these are not an accurate representation of where I think these teams are going to end up by the end of the year, and obviously we only have information about like 5 or 6 teams and from week 0, so I'm only going to fill out those teams in this chart because those are the only games that we have played so far. So I will do that. I will rank these teams and we'll just kind of see where these teams kind of start off the season. I just blanked for a second there. All right. So anyways, without further ado, let's just go ahead and hop right on in. There are a couple of teams that we're going to go through and rank, but as you can see, there are only, or everybody's ranked 1 right now on this list. That's with 0 data inputted into this spreadsheet. So let me go ahead and boot up the spreadsheet. So everything is based off of total points. So I grant a certain amount of points for wins, a certain point deduction for loss, a certain amount of points for however many points you've scored so far in the season. Point margin, that is a positive piece of data, or it could be a negative piece of data, depending on if you won your game. I account for how many touchdowns you have and assign a certain amount of points per touchdown. Field goals, same sort of thing. First downs, once again, a certain amount of points are granted for first downs. Total yards, 1 point per yard. Sacks, there's a certain amount of points you get for sacks. Forced turnovers, so you get a certain amount of points for forced turnovers. And then TFLs, tackles for loss, that one might be a little bit challenging to find, so I may not be able to get that data point today, or at least I'm going to try to. I'm going to try to find that information, but if I have to, I might fill out all of the other easier information to find, because for some reason ESPN doesn't record tackles for loss, which I think is a very important stat that gets left out for some reason. So I will do that, and we'll just go from there, and then wherever the teams end up, that's where they'll rank. And of course, keep in mind, any team that hasn't played yet will then be the last team on that list. So for example, I think let me pull up on my phone here. I have a list of the teams that played on Saturday. We're gonna look at Navy, we're gonna look at Notre Dame, we're gonna look at UTEP, JSU, I think I have them on this list, UMass or Massachusetts, Ohio, San Diego State, San Jose State, USC, FIU, Louisiana Tech, Hawaii, and Vanderbilt. Now, if there are any other games that you guys are aware of that were played on week 0 that I did not just now list, please let me know so that way I can find those games. But ESPN's kind of weird in terms of like what games that you can find on there, so I think I got them all the games that were played on Saturday, but like oftentimes the very first thing that boots up when you look at that information is just the top 25 teams, and then you have to search a little deeper to find any of the non-top 25 team games. So I think I found them all, but yeah, just if there are any other games that you guys can think of, please let me know and I will find that game and find the teams that played in the game and then update their data. So and I was gonna do this on Sunday, or actually I was actually gonna try to do it on Saturday, but the game for one, the USC and what was it, San Jose State, their game kind of went a little longer than I expected, so I postponed this this stream. I wanted to make sure I had all the right information. That was another thing. For whatever reason, on ESPN's website for USC, I kept looking at some of their stats, and the stats that I saw did not reflect what actually happened in the game. So there was some sort of weird data error on ESPN's part. So I was kind of waiting until they got that sorted out. I checked it earlier, and it looks like they got it sorted out, because it was like saying that they were having 80 points a game and they only scored like 56 points. So I wanted to get that, or make sure that they had plenty of time to get the right data recorded on there, so that way I don't input wrong data. So I think they've got it all sorted, so I think now we can go ahead and get started. And this shouldn't take too terribly long. I mean, with week 0, there weren't too terribly many games, so there shouldn't be too terribly many teams that I've got to go through. I think that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There's 14 teams that I've got to do, so this should be pretty fast, pretty simple. Once we get into the thick of the season, it's gonna be a little bit more involved. There will be a lot more games being played, but it looks like they were kind of spreading out some of the games throughout the weekend a little bit more this year than usual. Like, usually most games are played like on Saturday, sometimes Thursday nights, and I think even sometimes on Fridays. But it seems like at least this weekend there's going to be like games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I think even Monday as well, because of I think it's Labor Day. So anyways, I'm rambling on. Let's go ahead and just get started. So first off, the first team that I see on that list of teams that played on Saturday is Navy. So let's go ahead and look for there they are. So the cool thing about this spreadsheet that I created is I was able to assign a link to every single team. And so all I have to do is go find the team and then click the link, and it will take me to their ESPN page. So I have all this sort of information, quick, easy. I can click on statistics, and that will bring up the game statistics. Well, not necessarily the game, but the team as a whole in terms of their season statistics. So I can now click here, and now I can figure out some more specific information about the team, and some of it is very relevant to what I need. So for example, Navy lost their game. So in my little spreadsheet, I need to put that they lost. So they will get negative 500 points. So I mean, they're already going to be pretty low on scoring, because they're going to be negative 500. That's the only thing about losing early in the season, is you're going to start the season pretty low in terms of ranking. Points scored. So they scored a total of 3 points. And so what I'll end up doing throughout the rest of the season is just add up the total number of losses or wins, add up all the points scored throughout the entirety of the season. And then the point margin's a fun one, because that's basically, if you lose a game, you get negative points. If you win a game, you get positive points, and it's based off of your point margin. So Notre Dame scored 42 points in that game. So 42 minus 3, that'd be 39. So they get a negative 39 point margin. And then, so they didn't score any touchdowns, but they did score a field goal. So they get 50 points. So they'll get some of their negative points back. So that's good. All right. I'm gonna have to dig deeper on first downs. Hopefully that's recorded here. Total first downs. They got 12. Nice. Oop, wrong button. So they got 12 first downs. So I award 10 points per first down. There we go. So they get 120 points. So you can kind of start to see where I'm going with this in terms of how I'm going to rank these teams. And you can see already, because they are negative points right now currently, they dropped to rank 133. So right now they are the worst team in the nation, just based off of where I'm at in terms of recording this information. Now they could get higher up here in just a little bit once I start incorporating other teams' statistics. Total yards. So this will be on offense, how many yards that they were able to get. So let's take a look at total rushing yards. We got rushing yards per game. No, let's look at rushing yards. So rushing yards, they got 126. What about passing? Yards per pass attempt. Net passing yards. 53. I think that's the information that I need. So we're gonna look at 43 passing yards. That doesn't sound right, but maybe that seems very low. But maybe they just didn't throw very well. So 43 plus 126. I'm gonna definitely need a calculator for this. I don't want to mess up on my 126 plus 43. Knowing me, I will, like, if I try to do stuff like that in my head. Oh, here we go. Total yards 169, and that's what I got on my math there, so I don't even need to do math now that I see that stat. We're doing this live, by the way, so like I haven't even really looked at the stats yet. Oh, and I just exited out of the wrong thing. We are doing this live, so I haven't even like taken the opportunity to like look at all of these. This is the first time I'm inputting data. So 169 in terms of total yards. Let's go back to their spreadsheet. So total yards 169. All right, so they're getting some of their points back, so they're not completely in the negative criteria. I mean, they are in the negative, but they're not too terribly far. They're not as far as what their loss suggests. Now we need to figure out how many sacks they've got, which that one's going to be interesting because it doesn't show. That's one issue I have with ESPN in terms of their team stats. For some reason, they don't, unless there's a button I'm not seeing, they have information for the offense. So first downs, passing, rushing, offense. But they don't have stats for defense for some reason. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I think I can go to this other page, the players, and I'll just have to add up all of the sacks on the defense because it does have that information right here. So, and it does actually total them up, and they got 0 sacks in that entire game. But it looks like they had a fumble, forced fumble, so that is a turnover. Zero interceptions, but they do have a forced fumble. Wait. Fumble. Oh, but they didn't recover it. They forced it, but they didn't recover it. So that is not a turnover. That's unfortunate. Okay, well, then that they still get 0 in sacks. They get 0 in forced turnovers. And then in terms of the tackles for loss, like I said, I don't think that information is recorded. It tells me how many how many tackles each person got, but it doesn't tell me tackles for loss for some reason. And that's the information that I'm most interested in. I do need to add, like, this is definitely a debut of this ranking system. There's definitely things that I'm going to need to add, at least in the future seasons. So I want to put more points for defensive stuff, but for now, I kind of, it's very offensive friendly. I only have like 3 criteria for defense. I will have to come back to tackles for loss. That one I'll have to probably find on a different statistics website. I mean, ESPN, if you ever watch this, please add a tackles for loss stat to your website, and also on the team stats, put a defensive category. That would make this so much easier. Just making sure that I just didn't brush over it. But yeah, I'm not really seeing it. Fumbles lost. Wow, they lost 3 turnovers. Yeah, I'm not seeing any tackles for loss statistics. Yeah, nothing. Okay, that's fine. Well, so as far as Navy is concerned, we are done with them for now. So far they are at -197. That being said, I would imagine they got some tackles for loss. I'm going to try to find that information later on. So let's go ahead and look at Notre Dame. So now they are going to be, they're probably gonna, like, honestly I'm kind of expecting Notre Dame to be number 1 following week 0. Let's see, let me get focused here. Notre Dame. So Notre Dame, they have 1 loss, or 1 win rather. So they have 0 losses. Points scored, they scored 42 points. Their point margin, this would be +39. See, Navy got -39. Notre Dame got positive. Number of touchdowns. Let's see here. Go to that information. Click on their link. I'll go ahead and exit out of Navy's information. Let's go to statistics. Team. All right. So total touchdowns. They got 6 touchdowns. Oops, wrong button. So they got 6 touchdowns. How many field goals? Hopefully it shows field goals. Did they even kick a field goal? Field goal, good attempts. 0-1. So they tried to kick a field goal but missed. Okay. So they got 0 in the field goal category. All right, we're gonna do first downs. They got a total of 27 first downs. All right. Total yards. Offense total yards 444. Oops. All right. And I think I saw that they got 2 sacks, but I'm gonna double check that. So they got 2 total sacks. I keep clicking on that wrong window there. Okay, now forced turnovers. They forced 2 fumbles, but they didn't pick it up, and they didn't get any interceptions. So those categories are going to remain 0. And then tackles for loss. Oops. Tackles for loss will remain 0 for now until I can find that information. But I definitely think tackles for loss is a very important statistic, and it boggles my mind that that's not available on ESPN for some reason. All right, so Notre Dame is done, and as you can see, this column automatically updated them to be number 1. Because so far the only teams that we have information inputted are Notre Dame and Navy. So it made Navy the 133rd team so far. And then it put Notre Dame at number 1, and now everybody else is number 2. So I'm not going to do it yet, but let's say I wanted to rearrange all of these teams based on who's number 1. I can click this little filter icon and then sort it A to Z, and it will actually rearrange the list. But for the sake of making it easier to find these teams, because they're in alphabetical order, I'm just going to go ahead and leave them like this until I find them all, and then I will arrange them based off of the rank. And that way we can determine who is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And then everybody else is 15 until they play a game. So let's go to UTEP. They are the next team. We'll go ahead and close out Notre Dame's information. All right, so we need to go to statistics and teams. All right, so UTEP lost their game. So they have 1 loss. They scored a total of 14 points. Their point margin wasn't bad though. They only lost by 3 points. So they get a negative 3 points. So that's not bad at all. Number of touchdowns. I mean, I'm assuming it's 2 with it being 14 points, but we'll just be sure. I don't think there's any other way of getting 14 points. I think the only other way I could think of is if you get you'd have to get 6 points, so you be 2 field goals or 1 touchdown and maybe a failed 2-point conversion. I mean, I guess there are multiple ways of getting to 14 points, but why? So, 2. We got 2 touchdowns. All right, field goals. They got 0 field goals. First downs. How many first downs they get? Total first downs, they got 22. First downs. Total yards. They got total yards 364. That's not bad. It's not bad at all. All right. Number of sacks. Did they get any sacks? I mean, with a low scoring game like that, it sounds like they should get a sack. All right. So they got 1 sack. Okay, not bad. And then the last stat we will record for now is forced turnovers. And in terms of interceptions, wow, they didn't get any turnovers. That's crazy. This is a low scoring game with 0 turnovers. That must have been boring. That must have been a very boring game. I'm sorry. All right. JSU. Let's see if I even have them on here. Is it Jackson? Is it Jacksonville State? Oh, Jayville State, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna be brutally honest. I have never heard of this team, but they beat UTEP. Statistics, and we'll go to team stats. Team stats. All right, so Jacksonville State, they won a game, so congratulations. They have 0 losses. They scored a total of 17 points. They got a point margin of 3. I'm assuming they got 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Total touchdowns 2. And let's go ahead and look at field goal, because I'm pretty sure that's probably what they got. Field goal attempts 1 out of 2. Yep, they got 1 field goal and 2 touchdowns. So 2 touchdowns, 1 field goal. How many first downs do they get? Total first downs, they got 15 total first downs. Okay. $15 total yards. They got a total of 275. Number of sacks. Go to player stats. Okay, they got 2 sacks. That's not bad. I think I saw that they forced some turnovers. Yeah, they got 2 interceptions and 1 fumble. They got 3 turnovers. Go JSU. All right. So they're like leading the nation in turnovers right now. At least so far on my list. Now there could be another team that's got 4 turnovers, but 3 in 1 game, that's pretty good. All right, we're going to now look at Massachusetts, or I have them under UMass. All right, looks like they beat New Mexico State. All right. So we got UMass. They won their game. Points scored. They got 41 points. Not too shabby. Their point margin. (41-30), that would be 11 points. A positive 11-point margin. Let's see, how many touchdowns is that? Total touchdowns, they got 5 touchdowns. Let's see how many field goals they got. Total offensive plays. Field goal attempts. 2 for 2. Nice. They got 2 field goals. All right. How many first downs they get? They got a total of 17. 17 first downs. Total yards. We got 389. All right. Number of sacks. That'll be over here. Okay, 3 sacks. That's not bad. That's another thing too that's cool about all of these different filters. Let's say I want to figure out what team has the most sacks. I can actually like filter these teams based on who has the most sacks, or if I want to figure out who's turned the ball over more, or who's forced turnovers more, or if I want to find out who's leading the nation in number of touchdowns. Like, that's the cool thing about this kind of spreadsheet, is it's very, it gives you a lot of information really fast. So that's kind of why I'm doing this, and I'm also doing this to rank these teams and have my own little ranking system of how I would rank these teams. And this is just kind of a prototype for this year. Once again, I will try to add more defensive stuff next year. Since the season started, I'm kind of locked in on this spreadsheet in terms of the data that I'm going to input, but I definitely recognize that offense is very loaded in terms of points, and then defense there's like very little points, and I think defense is just as important as offense, so I want to give them more credit next year for sure, because that is very important. So this is definitely not going to be a perfect list, at least not in the first season, but I will try to do a better job next year at getting more criteria. Forced turnovers for UMass. So they've got 2 interceptions and 1 field goal, one fumble recovery. So that means they've got 3 as well. Okay, so they tie. Another 3 turnover team there. That's sweet. Not too shabby. Moving right along. All right, so I think that's all the information we can do for UMass for now. So we'll go ahead and exit out of theirs, and let's do New Mexico State. So let's go find New Mexico State. There they are. Go ahead and click on their information. They lost to UMass. Statistics. Go to team. All right, cool. So New Mexico State, they have a loss. They scored 30 points. Their point margin was -11. They've got a total. They got 4 total touchdowns. How many field goals did they get? Field goal attempts, 1 for 2, so they got 1 field goal. First downs. How many first downs they get? Total first downs, they got 22 first downs. All right, total yards. It'd be under offense. Total yards, they got 470 yards. See, just because you lose a game doesn't mean you're going to be in the negative points. But yeah, Navy really shot themselves in the foot, unfortunately. But that's, I mean, it's okay to have negative points on a ranking system. I don't have a problem with it. Let's see. Number of sacks. Did they get any sacks? They got 0 sacks and looks like 0 turnovers. So their stat list is done for now. Once again, I know I keep saying this, but in terms of tackles for loss, I will try to get all of that information at one time, like from a single website. that will have that kind of information. There is one that I saw that recorded tackles for loss, but for some reason ESPN doesn't. I just don't get that. All right, Ohio, and we're already there too. So we'll go ahead and open up their information. Looks like they lost to San Diego State. So, Ohio. One. How many points did they score? They scored 13 points. With point margin. Negative, so they got 20, so it'd be -7 points. If anybody is watching and is in the live chat, I haven't really looked at the live chat just yet, because I have some of the data that I'm inputting on my phone right now, and that's what I usually use to watch the live chat is my phone. So I don't really see it right now, but I might like take a little break. I think I might be on the halfway point. Yeah, well, yeah, once I finish Ohio, I will be at the halfway point. So once I hit the halfway point, I'll check the live chat to see if there's anybody who's commented on anything. So we are at Ohio. They got, excuse me, how many touchdowns they get? Total touchdowns. They got 1 touchdown. That makes sense. So that would mean that they got a lot of field goals. They got 2 field goals. I just want to make sure that I record it right, though. I don't want to assume that they got 2 field goals. Yep, 2 field goals. They could have gotten a safety, and that's another thing I probably should include in the next year's stat. Is it like any safeties? Because I mean that's a big deal. First downs, and that's a big deal for defense. That's like a defensive score. So yeah, I'll definitely add safeties. I might could go ahead and add that stat if I can see a clear stat of safety on ESPN. I will add that. First downs. How many first downs they get? $25. Total yards. They got a grand total of 380 yards. They get any sacks? They got 0 sacks, and in terms of turnovers, 0 interceptions. They did get a fumble, so they have 1 turnover. All right, cool. So Ohio is 386, and according to this, they are ranked number 5 right now. I bet no other poll has Ohio ranked number 5. All right, so now real quick, I'm gonna see if there is like a safety statistic that's easy to find. Probably not. I don't see one on this defensive stuff. See, it blows my mind. They have information about like whether or not it was a long interception or interception yardage and stuff like that, but they don't have like safety information. And they don't have tackles for loss information. That doesn't make any sense. Because tackling and tackles for loss are two separate things. And I mean, unless I'm misreading this. Oops. I mean, that's just total tackles. And a sack. I mean, yeah, a sack is a tackle for loss, but not all tackles for losses are sacks. But I don't see a safety stat. Yeah, there is no stat for safeties. So for now, I will leave that one off. But yeah, that would be a good stat to have. All right, so we have reached the halfway point. I will go ahead and switch over to my YouTube and see if anybody has chatted, and looks like nobody has said anything, which is fine. So we will go back, and I'm gonna take a little drink of my soda just real quick. All right, let's continue on. So let's look at San Diego State, see what they did. So we know that they beat Ohio. All right. So San Diego State, right there. They have a 1. They have a win. Let's see. How many points did they score? They scored 20 points. They have a win margin of 7. Yep, 7. And let's see here. Total touchdowns. I got 2 touchdowns. How many field goals did they get? Um, 2 out of 3. Cool. Two field goals. Number of first downs, 15. 15. Total yards, they got 309. Total yards. Did they get any sacks? I got 2 sacks. Okay. And I should have looked at how many turnovers they had. They had 3 interceptions. Wow. And 0 fumbles. But 3 interceptions. That's pretty good. So there's a 3-way tie in terms of number of interceptions in the total season right now. All right, so now we've got San Diego State. Now we're on to San Jose State. So they lost their game to USC. They scored a total of 28 points, which is really good, actually. Point margin 56 minus 28. I'm gonna have to do some math there, otherwise I'm gonna mess up. So 56 minus 28. 28. That's what I thought it was gonna be, but I don't trust my head math. I can be pretty precise whenever I have a calculator, but if I don't have a calculator and try to do stuff in my head, I don't do too great. All right, statistics. Oh, I almost clicked on a link by accident. All right, what were we doing? We were doing touchdowns. So, total touchdowns, they got 4 touchdowns, which means they got 0 field goals. How many first downs they get? I remember it being pretty good number of first downs. 24 first downs. That's really good, actually, for a game. Total yards. It was pretty high as well, total yards. What was it? Offense, total yards, 396. And then we've got number of sacks. I don't know if they got any sacks yesterday or Saturday. Not yesterday. Oh, they did get 2 sacks. Nice. 2 sacks. And did they get a fumble or turnover? No. They did get a onside kick recovery. Yep. So their stats are done. Now we're on to USC. The fun one. Let's see where they end up. They'll probably be underneath Notre Dame, I would imagine. 1? Points scored. They scored 56, right? 56. The point margin should be 28. And just double check. Yeah, I did do negative. Okay, cool. So they got positive 28 because they beat San Jose State. Touchdowns. Let's go ahead and click on their spreadsheet. Their statistics link. And we're gonna look at team stats. And they got a total of 8 touchdowns. Number of field goals. Did they even kick a field goal? No, they didn't even kick a field goal. All right, first downs. How many first downs they get? 25. Total yards. They got 501 yards. That is to be expected with Caleb Williams. Number of sacks. How many sacks did they get? They only got 1 sack. Wow. And they got 0 interceptions and 0 turnovers. Okay. So they got 1 sack. And oh wow, that put USC above Notre Dame. I think it's because of how many points they scored. I'll definitely look at that whenever I rearrange everything. And probably total yardage too, that probably put them above, but they're probably really close in points. Let's see. So we did USC, FIU. Do I have FIU? Surely I do. Yeah, here we go. Florida International. So they lost to Louisiana Tech. So 1 loss. Points scored. They scored a total of 17 points. Their opponent scored 22. So 22 minus 17, that'd be -5. I bet it's 2 touchdowns and a field goal. But we'll make sure. 2 touchdowns and a field goal. All right, so now how many first downs they get? 8 first downs. That's really bad. How many yards they get? Total yards. They got 182. How many sacks they get? They got got 2 sacks. Okay. And how many turnovers? They got 2 turnovers. So 2 sacks and 2 turnovers. Nice. So their defense is pretty solid. Nice. Okay. Not too shabby. So that puts them at rank 10. Okay. At least for now. We'll see what these other teams do. All right, now we're on to Louisiana Tech. And they beat FIU. So they got to win. All right, points scored. They scored 22, I believe. Yep, 22. And their point margin will be +5 because their opponent was 17. That means they got 2 touchdowns. And how many field goals? 3 out of 5? Wow. How many first downs they get? Total first downs, they got 27. 27? Total yards. Dang, 447. That's really good, actually. Number of sacks. They had 2 sacks and 1 or one interception, 1 turnover. So 2 sacks, 1 turnover. All right. We have 2 more teams to go. We got Hawaii. Woo-woo. Two more teams to go, and then we'll get to see what week 0 rankings look like. All right, so now looks like they lost. Wait. 1 loss. How many points did they score? They scored 28 points. So not bad. They just got outscored on this game. They got 28 points and Vanderbilt got 35, so that would be 7 points. So -7. Number of touchdowns. That should be 4. But we'll see. Just to make sure. Yep. 4. All right. They got 0 field goals. First downs. How many first downs they get? 19. It's not bad. Excuse me. Total yards. 391. And let's see how many sacks and turnovers they got. They had 3 sacks. Wow. And 0 turnovers. Three sacks and no turnovers. Okay. Now we are down to Vanderbilt, the last team in week 0. Vanderbilt. What did Vanderbilt? What did Vanderbilt, I should say. I just botched that joke. Well, they did win. So they get 1 point. I'm just kidding. They get 1,000 points for winning. Vanderbilt scored 35 points. That means that they had a positive point margin of 7. Touchdowns. It's probably 5 touchdowns, but I just want to make sure. Because there are multiple ways of getting some points. Yep, 5 touchdowns. They could have gotten like a bunch of field goals. All right, field goals. Probably 0. Yeah, totally 0. Yep. First downs. Got a total of 17. Total yards. 297. All right, sacks and sacks and turnovers. We got 3 sacks. Oh, I saw this 9. I was like, 9 turnovers. Holy cow. So 3 sacks and 3. Wait, no, just 2 turnovers because they didn't recover that one. So 3 sacks and 2 turnovers. 3, 2. All right. So, of course, I still have to find the tackles for loss stat. But if we sort all these teams, we can see that USC is leading the nation at number 1. Notre Dame is a close second. University of Massachusetts is 3rd. Louisiana Tech is 4th. Vanderbilt is 5. Ooh, but Louisiana Tech and Vanderbilt, they're really close. San Diego State is 6. Jacksonville State is 1865, so that puts them at 7. New Mexico State is 8. San Jose State is 9. Hawaii is 10. Ohio is 11. UTEP is 12. FIU is 13. And then every other team except Navy. Navy's got a negative point, so Navy is just dead last, unfortunately. So that's really unfortunate. I feel bad for Navy. But Navy is dead last. And then every other team in between is currently 14. So if the playoffs were played today, your top 4 teams would be USC, Notre Dame, UMass, and Louisiana Tech. That would be your playoff game. Now, that is without the tackles for loss stat. I do need to find that, and that could bump Notre Dame up above USC. that could bump Vanderbilt above Louisiana Tech. So stuff like that, to fine tune it. Cause so Vanderbilt could be actually number 4, but I wanted to do the tackles for loss last just because I'm going to have to actually kind of search for that stat, since ESPN does not have that. So let's take the time, I guess. Let me see if I can find that stat real quick. I'm going to put my microphone down so my audio might sound a little funny. All right. And I can't control 100%. While I do that, I'm gonna transfer it over real quick because I can't control the internet. There could be like advertisements and that sort of thing that is not sponsoring this video, so I got to be careful with stuff like that. So let's go ahead. I think I did that. So I will return back to the spreadsheet here in just a second. I'm going to look up college football tackle for loss statistics. All right, that's not what I need. Hey, I found an actual statistic for that. So tackles for loss. Okay. Okay, cool. I found an actual website. So I might actually link this website on my spreadsheet. That way I have access to it because it looks like it's going to go through all of the teams for tackle for loss. So let's just go ahead and I'm going to go back. Let me go back to the stream and I'll just show you what I'm talking about. So we got this little spreadsheet here on the website. So wow, Hawaii leads the nation in tackles for loss. And of course, Navy's last. That's sad. Okay, so Hawaii. Okay, let's go in order here. So we got USC. So USC, they have a total of USC has 7 tackles for loss. So I can put that stat in. Notre Dame. Oh, wrong button. Notre Dame has 5 tackles for loss. UMass has 4. Louisiana Tech. They have 6 tackles for loss. Vanderbilt has 8. Ooh, this could get interesting. That might bump them up. Nope, it didn't. Wow. We'll see what happens. San Diego State. They have 3. Jacksonville State has 3 as well. Who am I doing? I'm doing New Mexico State. They have 4. And then San Jose State has 4. Hawaii, I saw, had 9. They have the best so far. Ohio has 5. UTEP has 4. Oh. FIU. They actually have 8. Nice. And then we have to go all the way down to the bottom for Navy. Oh man, poor Navy. I think I saw they had 2. Yeah. There's room for improvement for Navy. All right. So the results are officially in. So, if the national championship or playoff, I should say, not national championship, if the national playoff was played today, I would have USC at number 1, Notre Dame number 2, UMass number 3, and Louisiana Tech at number 4. Those would be your playoff contenders. Coming in at number 5 is Vanderbilt. Number 6 is San Diego State. Number 7 is Jacksonville State. Number 8 is New Mexico State. Oh, wait. Oh, I forgot to do something. I mean, I did forget to do that, but I don't think it changed anything. Yeah, it didn't change anything. Number 8 is New Mexico State. Number 9 is Hawaii. Number 10 is San Jose State. Number 11 is Ohio. Number 12 is UTEP. Number 13 is FIU. And then everybody except for Navy is number 14, and Navy is number 15. That is the rankings of following week 0. This was fun. Like, this was interesting. Like, this is going to be an interesting way. Obviously, Next week, we will be able to fill out this sheet like almost 100% in terms of teams. It's going to take a long time, but I'm going to try to go. I mean, it may be something that I have to do throughout the week. So I might like pick X amount of teams to do on Monday and try to knock them all out. Just those sets of teams, then do the next set of teams and just do that throughout the week. That way I can break it up and not have to spend several hours in one day just to get all of these teams ranked. But as you can tell, it's a very simple ranking system. It's points based, and right now, I mean, number 1 is USC. Don't know how I feel about that. Not gonna lie, as a Sooner fan, kind of is unfortunate. But you look at how many teams actually played, it's gonna get sorted out once more games are being played. So, yeah, no, this is cool. Like I've been wanting to do this for a couple years now, and I finally just worked up the motivation to go ahead and do it. But I think that this is a great way of keeping track of my own national champion. So at the end of the season, I will have another spreadsheet, and I kind of started it on this one, but I've got to update it and whatnot. But basically, when the season is over, I will look at where the teams all line up at. And you could tell this is also linked to that first one, so all I have to do is click A to Z. Oh wait, no, it's not. Oh, never mind. I forgot. So I've got to go through and make this cell the same as the last cell, but it's not updated for some reason. But anyways, this is a very incomplete spreadsheet. But at the end of the season, I will go through, and wherever you rank, that is where you are at the end of the season. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a national champion just yet if you're ranked number 1 at this point. The next step will be taking that first list and then adding some additional points based on a specific criteria that is based on your opponents, where they rank, where they fall into the rankings. So, for example, there's 133 teams. And so if you played and beat the number 1 team in the nation, that you can get a maximum number of points of 133. And I might multiply that times 10 just so you get a little bit more points from it, from this particular criteria, because I strength of schedule should matter a little bit. So I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe that's something that I can have you guys determine. How whenever I rank a team at the end of the season, or whenever I multiply their opponents' numbers, that's hard to word. Let's see. What would you multiply your opponent's rank score for strength of schedule purposes? So basically the idea is you go down for each individual team. You will go and look at who they played, and every game that they played, you will add up points based on where their opponents fell in that first list. And it's inversely proportional to where your rank is. So if you're ranked number 1, you get, or if you beat the ranked number 1 team, you get 133 points. So that is the maximum number of points you can get. If you beat ranked number 2, 132 points. But that's the number that I'm trying to determine if I should multiply it times 10 or 5 points based on the rank. If on your schedule you beat the number 133 team, then you only get 1 point. Or if I multiply that times 10, you get 10 points. So that is the next step. Once the season is over, I will take that into consideration. And that is how I factor in strength of schedule, because I get it. Like when you go totally points and stats, some people's stats are going to be inflated a little bit because they just had a really weak schedule. And so like if they're the best team in that conference or in that league, they're going to have really great stats. So there's got to be a way to kind of incorporate strength of schedule, but do it in a non-biased way. And that's the best way I could think of to rank teams in a non-biased way. So there's that. So then once that is done, so once I have ranked all of them, that will be pre-conference championship games. Then when you win your conference championship game, let's see, what did I think I established it's 2,000 points. If you win your conference championship, you get 2,000 points, because in a regular season game, I grant you 1,000 points. So I put a little bit more emphasis on winning your conference championship game. Now that does hurt teams like Notre Dame, for example. So Notre Dame will probably never be in the top 4 ever on my list, possibly just because of not being in a conference. I mean, I might have a separate list for non-conference, like a non-conference list that isn't dependent upon conference, but just so teams like Notre Dame have a valid spot. But honestly, I have a big emphasis on conference championships because, that's another game that you have to play. That's another game that you could potentially lose. That's another game you could potentially win. And I hate the idea of independent teams. I feel like every team should be in a conference. I feel like that should be mandatory. But that's just my own opinion. I mean, I may be the only one that thinks that way, but especially for when it comes to rewarding teams for winning their conference championship game, that like teams like Notre Dame would definitely be hurt in my kind of ranking system. That being said, I'm not really a Notre Dame fan, but I do acknowledge that they would definitely miss out on stuff like that, and the other independent teams too. I can't remember who all's left in terms of independent, but yeah, no, like that is how I'm going to do it. And then so after all the conference championship games have been played, I will do this one last spreadsheet here, and whoever's number 1 is my 2023/2024 season national champion. If I could do a playoff in some way, shape, or form, that'd be cool, but I don't know. I don't think I would be able to do that. Maybe I can download NCAA football, one of those old games, and then decide my national champion based off of that and just have it simulate it. Nah, I'm kidding. But that is basically it in terms of how I would do the ranking system for this season. So as of right now, as of week 0, this is your top 10 and really top 15, because everybody else, with the exception of Navy, is 14. If I had it my way, I would start every team at 133 in preseasons, polls, whatever. Everybody's the same rank. In this case, it's kind of the other way around. It has everybody naturally be ranked number 1, which is fine. But I like the idea of teams having to earn their rank, and this way You don't have any kind of bias. There's no way to have brand names be in the top spots. It's completely based off of statistics. And like, as you can tell, like there's teams that normally would not be in the top 5 even are in the top 5 in week 0, of course. But this, once again, this will get all sorted out as the season goes. So it really doesn't matter where these teams are at until the very end, until conference championships are played. Then I will go through and finish any data that's left to finish out, and wherever these teams end up, that's where they rank for me. And my ranking system does not matter whatsoever. Like, this probably is a big giant waste of time anyway, but it's fun and it sparks conversation. And I think this is along the lines that they used to do it, like with the BCS ranking system. I'm pretty sure it was like a point system, but I don't really know what the criteria was for the points. So I just kind of came up with something that I felt was reasonable, with the exception of the defense. I totally left out the defense on this, and I do apologize for that. Next year, I will add more criteria, add more statistics that boosts the defensive side of the ball. I might even grant you more points per turnover, because I might have that a little weak in terms of points. So if there's any of that you guys want to criticize, like if you look at all the different points and how they're rewarded, if you have any problems with any of that, please let me know. And then next year, I'll try to revise it to what you guys think is the best way to do it in terms of points, how to award the points, what point values you get from it, because I want it to be fair. And the whole point of this is to be completely 100% unbiased. So whenever we get through week 1, I'm probably not going to see my Oklahoma Sooners anywhere near the top unless they just dominate. In fact, really, since USC and Notre Dame play week 1, they're probably going to be the top 2 teams, at least for a couple of weeks. And really, any of those teams, UMass, until they get a bye week. And then when a bye week happens, then I think it'll kind of naturally rearrange. But until those teams get their bye week, they're going to be probably the top 2 teams and top 3 teams and possibly even top 4 teams if they keep winning, at least for the next couple of weeks. But that's just how it will go for now. And then it'll start, the further into the season we go, the more accurate it will become. And so I don't know. I really put a big emphasis on winning your games. Like, that's why you get the most amount of points if you win your game. Like, and I deduct points if you lose your game. Like, that is to me the most important criteria on this entire thing. That's why, like, wins you get 1,000 points, as opposed to, like, so far the next highest stat I see is total touchdowns. So that's the next highest one, which is 800. And then it just drops down from there. I see 500 points from total yards. So yeah, I mean, this is cool. And I really like this. And I know I am rambling at this point, but that is where we will see these teams, at least for the next couple of weeks. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it was probably was a little boring at times, not gonna lie, but I hope it wasn't. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys enjoy the way that I'm gonna rank these teams. I hope it's that part's at least entertaining, the reveal of who ends up where with this kind of ranking system. So anyways, I don't know if I'm gonna do this is kind of like an advertisement, even though I don't really know if I'm going to be doing a preview for this this week, because I already previewed Oklahoma. I did a preview stream. What was it? It was Thursday. It was either Thursday or Friday. I think it was Friday. I did a preview video of my Oklahoma Sooners. So if you're interested in finding out where I think that Oklahoma will end up by the end of the season in terms of their win-loss record, feel free to go check that out. You don't even have to watch the entire thing. I know it's long. It's like over an hour and a half long. So, I mean, if you just want to go and kind of glance through it, by all means, it's available for you on my channel. So, feel free to go check that out and kind of see what my opinion is of my Sooners and how I think that they could improve from last year and that sort of thing. So, but I don't know. If you guys like this sort of thing, definitely leave a like and leave feedback. Feedback is very much appreciated. So, I think I covered all the bases at this point, but I really do appreciate it if you made it this far, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. You guys take care and have a great week 1 of college football. Take care.